We often hear about the marks we leave on the world, but there is one invisible mark that matters more than any other: our carbon footprint. This concept is key to understanding the human impact on our climate. Put simply, a carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions caused by individuals, events, or products. It is the sum of all the invisible exhaust we leave behind. How do we measure something we can't see? We use a standard unit called carbon dioxide equivalent, or CO2e. This allows us to bundle different types of gases into one single number for easy comparison. Whether it is from driving a car or buying a new phone, everything has a number attached to it. It is the currency of climate change. This footprint is split into two main parts. First, there are direct emissions. These are the obvious ones, the emissions that come straight from your activities, like the exhaust from driving your vehicle. But then there are indirect emissions. These are sneakier. They come from the manufacturing of the goods you buy and the services you use. You might not see the smoke, but it's there in the history of every product you own. To understand why this matters, we must look at the sky. The Earth has a natural process called the greenhouse effect. Ideally, this traps the sun's heat in our atmosphere, acting like a blanket. This natural warmth is vital. It maintains the liquid water and temperatures needed for thriving ecosystems. Without it, Earth would be a frozen rock. The problem isn't the effect itself, but the gases we are adding to it. The most prevalent gas is carbon dioxide, CO2, which comes primarily from burning fossil fuels. But it's not alone. Methane, CH4, is a potent gas released from livestock and landfills. Then there is nitrous oxide, N2O, from agriculture and industry, and fluorinated gases, which are synthetic, extremely long-lived industrial gases. This brings us to anthropogenic emissions, emissions caused by humans. Since the Industrial Revolution, human activities have dramatically increased the concentration of these greenhouse gases. By burning fossil fuels, we are releasing ancient stored carbon back into the air, amplifying the natural greenhouse effect and overheating the planet. To truly measure a footprint, we use something called a life cycle assessment, LCA. This looks at the entire journey of a product. It starts with raw material extraction and moves through the manufacturing processes. It includes transportation and distribution to get the product to you. It counts the emissions during the product use phase and finally its end-of-life disposal. For businesses, accounting for carbon is more structured. Organizations categorize their emissions into 3 distinct scopes. This classification is crucial because it identifies exactly where the greatest reduction efforts are needed. It stops companies from hiding their true impact. Scope 1 covers direct emissions. These are emissions from sources that the company owns or controls directly. For example, this includes the fuel combustion in company-owned vehicles. It also includes the natural gas used in building furnaces and boilers to heat their facilities. If they burn it, they count it. Scope 2 refers to indirect emissions. These come from the energy the company buys, specifically purchased electricity, steam, heating, and cooling. Even though the smoke isn't coming from their building, they are responsible for the demand. The main reduction strategy here is straightforward. Switch to renewable energy providers. Scope 3 is the biggest challenge: value chain emissions. This includes everything else: business travel, employee commuting, purchased goods, and waste disposal. This is often the largest and hardest scope to measure accurately because it involves tracking the carbon footprint of every supplier and every customer interaction. Now let's look at the global sources. The primary source is energy use. Electricity generation, specifically from burning coal and natural gas, is the single largest contributor globally. This isn't just factories. The energy consumed in our homes, schools, and workplaces drives this massive demand every single second. The secondary major source is transportation. This is the combustion of petroleum-based fuels in our vehicles, cars, trucks, and ships. While driving is a huge factor, air travel is particularly carbon-intensive per passenger mile, making it one of the fastest ways to increase an individual footprint. We also eat our carbon footprint. Food production is a massive contributor. Deforestation for agriculture changes land use dramatically, removing trees that would otherwise absorb carbon. Furthermore, livestock, especially cattle, produce methane through enteric fermentation, making meat consumption a major contributor to global emissions. Our shopping habits play a role too. Consumption and waste are significant sources. Manufacturing new consumer goods requires intensive energy inputs at every stage. This is why the mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle is essential for footprint reduction. It stops the emissions before they even start. What happens if we don't stop? The global impact is climate change. We are already seeing rising global temperatures and extreme weather events. The scientific consensus is clear. A coordinated global effort is needed to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius to avoid the worst catastrophes. How do we fix this? One strategy is carbon offsetting. This involves funding reforestation and renewable energy projects to balance out your own emissions. However, this should be a last resort. True sustainability means reducing emissions first and only offsetting what cannot be eliminated. You have the power to make a difference. Personal reduction strategies include reducing electricity use by installing LEDs and efficient appliances. You can choose public transit, cycling, or electric vehicles over gas cars. Eating less red meat and reducing food waste also has a huge impact. Finally, simply choosing products with minimal packaging sends a signal to producers. Corporations and governments must lead the way. Companies can implement energy efficiency across all operations and invest in on-site renewable energy sources. Governments use policy tools like a carbon tax to incentivize cleaner alternatives, or cap-and-trade systems to limit total emissions with tradable permits. Ultimately, the solution starts with awareness. Your role involves understanding your footprint as the crucial first step. From there, you can support policies and businesses prioritizing decarbonization. By making the invisible visible, we can take the steps necessary to protect our shared home.